Well, thank you so much for joining us here on another edition of the Arms Bumanlag Project. My name is Arms, and of course, we are live once again here in, I think it's a Tuesday. I can't even keep track of the days anymore, but I want to say thank you so much for spending some time with us on this 29th edition of the show. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and we are happy to have everyone who joins us on a regular basis here on the program. And my guest tonight's got a lot to talk about and lots to reconnect with. She's truly an amazing lady here in the Windsor Essex area, somebody I've had a pleasure to work with on a couple of different projects over the years. So we'll welcome her to the project in just a few moments. But before we get to that, I want to get a couple of things across our desk here from the project itself, and to get people going and sort of used to what we're doing here. We get a lot of messages from folks over the course of the week on my Facebook page and certainly on other the social media sites like, hey, are you still doing the weather? Yes, we do the weather on a daily basis. Every morning there is a forecast that goes live in your feed, and we need you to send in your photographs. We'd love to see your photos. If you're a local photographer, you can share your shots with me. You can tag me at Arms Bumanlag or send me those photos in Facebook Messenger or on Instagram, and take your best shot. We will highlight anything to do with wildlife, beautiful photos here in the Windsor Essex area, and you'll get your moment to shine, not only on my Facebook page, but also with Eyes on Windsor too. So that's exciting stuff when it comes to highlighting local artists here in the Windsor Essex area. Now on the program, last week we had a great in-depth conversation with two folks in the healthcare industry, Lucy and Pat from the Bulimia Anorexia Nervosa Association. That episode 28 is up on YouTube and Spotify. And then Kyle Brickman, associate professor from the University of Windsor, is going to be joining me next week. We've got lots of ground to talk about if you're feeling stressed, if you are looking at what you're doing for work and you're saying to yourself, well, maybe it's time to make a pivot, or if you're in an organization that feels like you're putting out fire after fire after fire on a consistent basis, especially in COVID. Kyle's got some fantastic insight on workplace culture and how to make those shifts change when it comes to diving in the realm of making your employees feel engaged and connected with what they're doing on a daily basis and really yearly basis as well. So Kyle is going to join us on the show next week. Really pumped to have him on the program. Connected with him on LinkedIn, actually. Really smart guy. And he's been recently featured in the Globe and Mail. So we'll be chatting with him momentarily on the show. We got lots to talk about here, including a great organization west of Windsor and some fantastic campaigns that they've done over the years, including Each for Equal campaign. This was something that was near and dear to my heart that took place in 2020. And my guest has been involved with those, sort of spearheading those. She's a mom. She's been involved with We Care for Kids for over 4 years. And she talks a lot about, what West does and how essential it is in our community as a whole. So I'm really excited and very blessed to bring Stephanie Lyanga to the project on the show today. Stephanie, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Hey, Arms. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Oh, God bless you for spending some time with me tonight. I was so blessed to, I say this to all my guests. I make a list before I started doing the show back in May, and I'm like, Stephanie, get her on the show, see what's going on, because it's been a while.
It has.
All, how the heck have you been? Like, how are you doing?
Doing good, hanging in there. I know things are crazy. It's up and down, and, we're living in the unexpected, but overall I'm doing good. Kids are doing good. So can't complain too much. It's not good to complain too much, right? So we've got to work with what we have and figure out how to make the best of what's going on.
Yeah, it's been, everybody says unprecedented. It seems like a couple of months, but it'll be coming up on 2 years this March, which is insane to me. And I think it's really pivoted a lot of folks. And, I'm going to bring Kyle on from the U of W next week to talk a little bit about some of those pivots from a workplace perspective, but, from a West perspective. And as we get into, what West is for folks who aren't familiar with it and what it stands for and, how you're involved and the entire team, the work that you guys do in the Windsor Essex area, how has it been for West in terms of pivoting and really getting the access to services that you guys provide to folks here in the Windsor Essex area?
Well, as soon as COVID hit and we had staff working remotely, the team just jumped in and we worked on getting services done online. So we worked on, doing workshops online, doing one-on-one services and supports for the clients online. It was, it's hard to make the adjustment because we're so used to the in-person and, adjusting to all that, but staff was great. And making sure that the clients were still connected because of certain circumstances, some feel isolated. You also had some mothers with their kids, and I have all these kids at home, and and still being able to provide those supports for them and what they need, right? So it was great that we were still able to, and even our CNC was functioning, and they were offering program for the kids. So it was great that the staff stepped up and was able to do this for the clients.
Over the years, I've worked with you guys at West through, stuff at the CBC and, working with you guys at AM 800 back in the day too. I've always known you guys to be very progressive in terms of not only what your mandate is and what you offer women in the Windsor Essex area to get, sort of the support they need to advance themselves in the workplace and further, but also to be very tech savvy. So was it a big pivot for the staff of West to go online, or was it an easy segue?
It had bumps. There were bumps in the road because you're not used to doing it this way, right? So you're used to a certain way of things, and we've always functioned a certain way, and making sure that everybody had the remote access they needed, they had the supplies that they needed. So it took a while to get adjusted. I'm not going to say that, and there's challenges, and there's tech support that's needed, and everybody's working through the bumps that are in the road. But we managed as time progressed on to get things running very, very smoothly. And so, it's great. And we're still able to offer some services online, and there's some in person. So it's great with the change as well, because there's the bonus. You look at the bonus now for those who can't come in person, right? You now have online services, or you can provide them that support that they might need virtually.
I think it's been, and I've said this many times too, I think for a lot of folks, you've kind of been able to take stock of your day and take a look at some of like meetings that could be an email and then the segue from, you know what I mean? Like the segue from saying, okay, like as soon as I'm done a meeting, like this is why I love doing the show, among other reasons, I get to connect with fantastic people like yourself. But it's like, I don't have to drive to a studio anywhere. I can just literally put my son to bed and then come on down to my office and then, connect with my guest and go live. I think there's something to be said about that work-life balance, I think too. But then again, connecting with folks in person too is certainly essential too, to make those, I guess, non-tangible connections.
Exactly. Now we're always saying it's nice to meet you virtually versus, nice to meet you. It's nice to meet you. It's nice meeting you virtually, right?
That's right. That's right.
And yeah, it is definitely a benefit because, you've got everything one place. So there's the pros and the cons that are attached to that, right? So you're like, okay, great. I can just literally roll out of bed and go to like 5 meetings and not have to drive from one location to another and just click each different link. And, you're still in the same spot. So that it saves time, right? But yeah, you still need that in person. You still need to connect with people. You still need to see people. I like that. I like to be able to see people face to face. I like to have those conversations. I'm a talker. So, not out, and you're sitting on Zoom all the time. It's like, I'd rather sit with you, have a coffee, have a conversation, and those sort of things too. So there's the pros and the cons of it all.
Well, I think you can feed off people's energy, right? I mean, that's something that I always used to love doing too. I mean, to say you were able to drive to a studio or meet somebody in person to have a quick meeting and you get to kind of feed off each other's energy and then kind of get the juices flowing, right? Yeah. You get to start to think of ideas and how to collaborate with each other too. But, it's great that you guys have been able to do the hybrid too. And I think that's a testament to what West does. And for folks who are listening to the show after the fact on the podcast or watching this on YouTube after the fact or live in the feed too, if they're not familiar with what West does and what West is, could you elaborate on what West is and the impact that they've had in the community?
Sure. WEST stands for Women's Enterprise Skills Training of Windsor. So we're a non-for-profit organization, and we've been around for over 30 years. We service primarily women, but we also do service men through our Employment Ontario programs. We offer a range of programs in regards to settlement. We have computer training. We have language classes. We have a Women in Skills Trades program. We have a LEAD program. There's a SEAT, Sign Engineering, Artistry, Technology program. I'm forgetting. We have a construction program that just started recently. So we have all these awesome programs that are happening, and we do workshops. We do in-person support to help individuals who are settling in the community. We have a new settlement NSP program. A lot of acronyms to exist in this world. So, and there, it's just, there's a lot of stuff that happens, and the organization is there to help women and provide them the support that they need. Because sometimes, they're not sure where they want to go. Also, women who are settling in the community, they're new. There's the new language they're learning. So there's an array of supports, and looking at those wraparound services as well through our organization, but also the community in regards to how we can get them to move to where they want to be, right? What is their future goal? What are their aspirations? What do they want to be, and helping them from children all the way up to adults and seniors. And we also have a cooking program. So you're remembering things as I'm going along, Arms, and I'm talking.
That's okay. That's a testament to all the stuff that you guys have on the go and all the services that you offer. And I mean, many moons ago, back in the pre-COVID days, when I had a chance to bring all my camera gear and cover different stories with what you guys were doing at West, and I just know, it was nice to see the connectivity, if that's a word I can use, that the staff have with the clientele that come in, and to see that firsthand, especially with a lot of the newcomers, to sort of navigate what Windsor is about. And I think that has been, like you had touched on, Stephanie, a big selling point for West. And I think the sustainability and the viability of the organization to be offering that to the influx of newcomers that we continually see here in the Windsor Essex area, especially with the last few years and certainly into the future. I do a lot of real estate work on the side too. And, we're looking at some of the numbers coming in, and sort of this mass entry point is Windsor. People are starting to realize what a great area Windsor is, and Essex County is too. So they're projecting that we're going to see a lot more diverse folks with backgrounds come into the area, and not only necessarily from up the 401, but again, from halfway around the world, because they're seeing the value of being so close to the Motor City, God willing, when the border opens up, what this area has to offer. So, I mean, it's just really nice to see that there's folks who really see the value and building those relationships with folks who are settling here in Windsor.
Oh yeah, and it's definitely great to have the women and the clients come in, and you get to hear stories and experiences that you would have never heard before. And you make those connections, and it's the way you build small families, right? In that environment that you're in, and because they see you every day and you connect with them. And I know there's clients I've seen, and as time has passed on, and some may not say hi to me at the beginning, but as the weeks and the months pass on, they start saying hi, and you ask them how they're doing, and you ask them how their families are doing, and it's great. There's a sort of personal connection that you build with them, and that's one of the great things about the organization is giving people this opportunity, and it's like it's a safe place for them to come, right? And you want to make that environment safe for the clients that are coming in, because you don't know what they've been through. You don't know what their experiences are, right? And that's one of the things that you want to make sure is happening for them.
Some comments coming in on Facebook, and we're live this evening on Facebook, Instagram. I always say Instagram. I wish we were live on Instagram, but LinkedIn. You
gotta make it happen. You gotta make it happen.
I gotta make it happen. I gotta upgrade my service here. I'm doing 3 platforms at once, but no, LinkedIn
not enough.
And Twitter. Gotta go all live all the time.
If you're gonna go all the way, you gotta go full force, Arms. Come on.
You got to, right? I mean, you have to. Rick St. Dennis says, Stephanie is involved in a great service. And I think, when people get to see the work that you guys do, I mean, that's a testament to the fact that you guys have been around for, 30 years. Annabella says, Stephanie, hey, thanks for all your hard work.
Thanks, Annabella. Annabella's a staff at West. Thanks, Annabella.
And she goes, ask about the reading socks. So what are those about?
No, we were talking about it today in a meeting. Speaking of virtual meetings, we had a virtual meeting today, and we were meeting, and we started talking about comfort wear, and because the temperature is going off and on. And I said, I like reading socks. I'm really big on having reading socks. And even in the summer, I wear them with shorts. So if you rang my doorbell, I'd have reading socks on and shorts and a t-shirt on, because I just like the comfort of the socks.
You got to get cozy. There's nothing wrong with it, especially if you're doing the work from home, man. Like I just like, I mean, you know me, I used to bust out the suits all the time. Now it's like, I got my collection of hoodies and shirts. And if I'm hunkering down in my basement studio office, it's like, I'm comfortable if I'm plopping down for a couple hours,
You have to. You dress comfortably. I was like, if I put on heels, my feet are going to hate me. Like at the end of the day.
That's true, right?
I haven't put heels on forever. They're just like, no, do not go in, So yeah, it's comfort wear is important. It's essential.
Lynn says here on Facebook, hey, thank you, Arms, for presenting positive stories of the wonderful community of Windsor Essex, Pelee Island. Lynn, my absolute pleasure. And, I'm blessed to be born and raised here in the area and being a part of so many folks and organizations over the years. I said to Stephanie when I was kind of asking her to be a guest on the show, it's like, one of my many joys, like with you in reading socks, right?
Yeah,
it's for me is to have conversations with folks and to really keep us connected as a region. And I think, when people can kind of see each other from their points of view and platforms and work collaboratively together and to build that relationship, I think that's something, yes, the virtual stuff is good, but I
Mhm.
think, to echo that too, Stephanie, it's like we're missing out on that relationship building, I think, from a little bit of a standpoint of, connecting to folks,
Yeah.
riffing off each other, and realizing, we kind of touch base on this too, that there's a lot of negativity out there right now.
Hmm.
And it has been building for quite some time.
Yeah.
And, I may not get the thousands of views on this show, but I will die on a hill saying that we're going to focus on positive stuff and have hard conversations for sure. But you can still talk about some nice things and have those connections with folks, because I feel like, this area is so blessed to have so many folks, including like yourself and the team at West, doing some
Hmm.
amazing work. So I think those stories need to be told.
I completely agree. I think, those connections need to be made, stories need to be told, and the good stories, and having the hard conversations doesn't mean it's going to get ugly, and they can still be lighthearted and they can still be fun. And you can look at the positive side of these hard conversations and open your eyes to new perspectives. So with that, it's awesome, to be able to do those things.
One of the things that West does, and it's a campaign that's relatively new, and I would say in this iteration of it, was something that, I was really honored to be asked to be a part of, was the IWD 2020 campaign. And this was something that I was so impressed. I mean, we went to, I think honestly, that was the last in-person gala before COVID I had a chance to attend, was your
Yeah.
gala
Yeah.
at the St. Clair Center for the Arts. But I just feel like you guys did such, and I'm going to say it, and this is why I love the show. You guys did such a kick-ass job in bringing folks together in Windsor Essex who really give a damn about what IWD is, and each for equal, what that's about. So for those folks who aren't familiar with this and this positive push that you did, you got to give us the rundown on what this was and how this all came together.
Okay. Yeah. As Arm says, we do these campaigns every year for International Women's Day. And this one was Each for Equals right before COVID hit. And it was an amazing campaign. And the people that came out, I have to say, I was like in awe and impressed, and just was just like people I didn't even know, I called and they were just like, I will be there. And I was like, yay, thank you. And it was looking at people in the community in Windsor Essex who are not just community leaders, because we brought children on board, and looking at who are these people, they want to make a change. What role do we each have? We each play a role in making positive change. And it's such a simple task. It's such simple actions that we can each do on a daily basis in their lives. And, I couldn't bring everybody together that I wanted to, but brought a great number of people together and asked them as well. The puzzle, there was a puzzle that was put together. And I know nobody really knew what was happening. And I just sent a message and said, I need a word, Arms.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, sure, whatever you need with Stephanie, whatever you need, I'm there,
Give you this word. So everybody had, all the community leaders, the adults all had a word that signified what each for equal meant to them, what it meant to create a diverse community, what role they could play in that. So they each had this puzzle piece and they presented it in the video. And then the entire puzzle piece is actually one giant puzzle. So we never actually got to put it together, but actually all the pieces fit together as one giant puzzle. So it's basically saying that we each play a role in creating the final piece. So to create that world, when you see the final puzzle and it's all done and life is good and that's euphoric feeling that you have, this is where we need to get to. This is what we each need to do in order to get to this place. And then I also had a group of children, bless them. They were amazing and rocked it. They did not sing together. They were not a choir. They came together and they became a choir. They performed the night of the gala, and it was A Million Dreams. It was about us making sure that we create this world for them that they want to see. So it's basically them telling us as adults, hey, step it up, make this is what we want. This is our dream, right? And they also participated in the video, and it was just amazing. Like, I have to honestly give props to the Windsor Symphony Orchestra, and that's why I always say, like, those connections and meeting with people. And, I went to them and I said, I had this idea, and Sheila Wisdom was amazing. And Maestro Robert was amazing. And they just were like, yep, okay. We talked through it, and, we used the Capitol and did the filming there. And it was amazing that everybody came out, and I met some new amazing people and have built some new partnerships and relationships. So for that, it's been beneficial. And to you, once again, thanks for driving in to participate that day.
Oh my God. I was just pumped to get back into Windsor. Let me tell you, at the time I was working out in Leamington. So when Stephanie said, "Hey, can you come by the Capitol Theater?" I'm like, "Oh, I miss being in my downtown stomping grounds. I used to like broadcast like a few blocks away from that. Of course I will come." But no, it was just what an honor to be there. And, you know, shout out to a couple of folks that we both know very well, you know, Frank Abruzzese and David Mouche and all these folks, again, the community leaders and folks who really want to instigate that change and have those conversations were there. And it was just so well done. And then to see everything, you know, we had those puzzle pieces and I thought it was so well done that when we went to the gala a few weeks after the fact, to see that kind of mesh together. And we had some of our friends over at Windsor Police Services there too, supporting the cause. And then to see the kids perform, I think it just melded all together so well. And I know Mayor McDonald from the town of Leamington was there that night. And I remember talking to her and speaking with Ann Diab as well. And Ann, I know we both know. And I just said, you know, kudos to you guys for really striking a nerve. You know, it's one thing to do some marketing, but to really put a spin on it and get people involved, I think it's a testament to what you guys were trying to achieve for that particular campaign.
Thank you. Yeah, the kids were a very nice surprise for the evening. Nobody was prepared for them to show up that night. So they were a nice added touch to bring to the change in terms of a gala. So thank you. Yeah, we honestly, we appreciate it and the community connections that you make. And the great thing is it's bringing different people together. It's not about the same people in the same sector coming together and having those same conversations. The only way that we can really come to start having more dialogue, but actually action, is bringing people from, you know, the arts, from the healthcare, you know, from the private, from the public, from all these different sectors together, to have these conversations about how we can work together and what we can do. So hopefully we'll see what the next campaign will be.
Well, like, okay, put a nail on that. So I want to talk a little bit about that, about action in the next little bit. We got to get back to the comments here. There's so many coming in. This one here saying, "Go Stephanie. So nice working with you."
Thanks, Rita.
She's very, very supportive of you too. And Annabella, because, you know, Stephanie did amazing work putting it together. And Sharon, a good buddy of mine, Sharon Bevington here. Stephanie works hard for our community. She's simply amazing. And then, hey, first comment. I always say we're getting somewhere on LinkedIn. You know, I know people watch on LinkedIn. I can see the views, but very rarely do I get people commenting. So Heather Clausen saying, "This is amazing. So great to hear. This is wonderful." So
awesome. We'll take it. Thank you, Heather.
That's right. You know, it's funny you should say that too. It's not about talking. I mean, there is a time for talking, right? And folks, you need to have that dialogue and have those conversations. But I love how you underscore that with action, right? It's like, you know, I've said many times, you can have great plans and multiple Microsoft Excel spreadsheets about all this great stuff that's going to happen, but what is the ground level plan to make something happen? And I think it's a testament to our area that we're slowly getting there. We are starting to get there pre-pandemic, to say that, you know, what are these conversations that we can have, like you said, in our various sectors? How can we bring those sometimes difficult conversations or more inclusive conversations to the forefront and say, how can we make this work for everybody? Because, I mean, from a people standpoint, it makes sense. And then I think from a diversity standpoint, like I was on a call about a year ago, and one gentleman we were talking about diversity and inclusion, and they said diversity is a fact. That is something that is a fact that it is a fact. And at this point, 2020, it is a fact. Inclusion is a choice. And I think when you're able to tap into those people who are able to make that policy and to have those voices at those particular tables, you're allowing that conversation to become policy, and you're changing the mindset and getting people to wrap their heads around, you know, the fact that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that particular realm.
Yeah. And you're right. We've all sat around those boardroom tables and we've seen the charts, we've seen the PowerPoint presentations, you know, and this is what we're going to do. And here's the action step. But it's like, how do we make this actually happen? Right. How do we take what we're actually saying and actually put those words to action and have those conversations and call those people up that you don't know? You know, that's always my favorite thing to do, is call people up that I don't know. How did you get them? I'm like, I just called them, you know?
Like, what a concept, right? Like, I love when there's like, oh yeah, how did you get that? Like, I just went out there. Like, I was on the ground. Like, you know, I always used to joke around. Like, I love being a working director, because it's like, You know, it's like Ray Kroc from McDonald's, right? You'd always see him. You sure he'd be in the boardroom, but he'd be out there manning the cash register too, because he'd get a full scope of what was going on the ground
Yeah.
and make those connections, right?
Exactly. And it's funny because my kids, I know you talked about, mentioned it, We Care for Kids, they do. And they were at Anna's Flowers in the summertime, and they were just walking around, the greenhouse, talking to people, letting them know that we're here selling lemonade. And you start them off young, I guess, right? Just connect with people, just start awesome. Talking to people and get them in that sort of frame of mind.
Okay, let's talk about, let's make a pivot here and talk about
sure.
Your kids too. And if you're just joining the show, the comments continue to come in. Please feel free to throw questions at our guest. The lovely Stephanie Lyanga from West is on the show. Just an amazing lady, great organization to partner up with here in the city and certainly in the region. The information is on their website too, westofwindsor.com. The link is listed on the live stream as we speak. And we'd love for you to provide a question or a comment. You can message now in the feed too. Talk about your kids. We Care for Kids.
Yeah.
You've got the two kids, Crosby and Emmett.
Yeah.
They have been involved, 4 years and counting. That's a good age, a young age to get them started. So why get involved with We Care for Kids?
I did not get them started, Arms, actually. My daughter came to me 4 years ago and she said, Mom, I want to sell lemonade to help kids. And that was it. She just walked up and said, this is what she wanted to. And I was like, okay, let's try to figure out how to make this happen. Because I know she was really into superheroes when she was a kid. And, Captain America, Wonder Woman, she was all about superheroes. And she's like, I want to help people. I want to save the world. And I was like, great. And then she's like, this is what I want to do. So I was like, where do you do this? I didn't know, that they had a lemonade brigade at We Care for Kids. So I went and I found it, and they ended up at the Walkerville Arts Festival in that summer. They did for 2 days. They did it. They sold lemonade, and
wow.
She started off. She was 6. Emmett was 4. So then you had to explain to a 4-year-old how you can't keep the money.
He's like, this is mine. I'm going to Toys R Us, Mom.
Yeah,
I busted my butt here. I'm going to get the new Nintendo stuff, and you're like, no, you can't.
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely, he's like, are you sure we can't keep it? Can I have some of it? I'm like, no, Emmett, it all has to go. It's for helping people. He's like, oh, okay. And you could kind of see, he's like, but I worked really hard, and then they said, okay. And then did a couple things in the middle about, getting some coats and some winter things for kids along the way as well. In the wintertime, we did that just to kind of also help them get in the frame of mind of helping people out and doing that. And the next summer they said, can we do it again? Can we sell lemonade again? And I was like, okay, let's figure out how we're going to do this. So once again, figured out locations and how we're going to do it. And it's been an ongoing thing. And then this year they got to be spokes kids, which is exciting for them. And,
that's cool.
So they love doing it. They love helping. They love, being on the community. And it's been so great because they've learned about business. They've learned about profit and revenue. We've talked about marketing, how to create your own business. And they're great sellers. Like Crosby's out there and she's just like, somebody put something in and they're like waiting for their change. And she's like, you're not just going to give me that whole 20. Like now you want change, So it's like, yeah. And yeah. And it's been great for their math too, right? Because they're, people will say, I'm giving you a 10, I'm going to donate 5. And, they have to do the math in their head because there's no calculators for them. And, they'll ask them, what color do you want? Because we have different color cups. And we've also had some great people donate items for the event. And they managed to I call myself a momager for them. And I can't, I actually use mama because I think mom is the momager is trademarked, right? So I can't touch that one.
Momager, yeah.
Exactly. So I'll call myself that. I hope that's okay. And, now they have me baking cookies. So they do online and they do in person because of COVID. So I was baking some cookies and helping them out. And they love doing it. They think it's, it's great. And I encourage them to keep going on that path. I didn't put anything in their head. It was just their idea. And Emmett Crosby's idea, Emmett just kind of was brought along and he's been cool with it ever since.
What a great organization here locally to team up with too. I mean, I know Ashley and the team at We Care for Kids, they do a lot of great work for, pediatric needs right across Windsor Essex. And, from a step back lens to take a look at We Care, we've done a number of interviews with them over the years and some of their needs with Leah Hansen. I know Leah Hansen's on the board and she does a number of related work with We Care for Kids as well. But, as you know, pediatric care here locally is something near and dear to my heart with my son. And, you know, we have great pediatric care, but we don't have the level that Toronto has at Sick Kids. But I know We Care for Kids tries to bridge that gap with some of the pediatric needs locally for hospitals. So I can't speak to how much need there is, because certainly there is need for, you know, different pieces of equipment, different funding for different programs here locally to happen at Windsor Regional Hospital. And I think it's just so crucial that you teach kids that, yes, they're healthy and you know, they may have but there are kids who are not. And this is a way for, I think, parents and children to, you know, have that healthcare coverage provided through We Care for Kids too. So kudos to both your kids for diving into something so, I think, so important for so many folks here locally too.
Yeah, it's been a great, you know, learning experience for them, and learning about the organizations that are in Windsor and Essex that are helping children. So for that, like, you know, Wetra, John McGivney, like, they've had a chance, and we, you know, I haven't taken them there, but, you know, with COVID, we took a look at the websites, took a look at the videos they do, and, you know, and it gets them interested, and they ask questions, and they make me Google a lot of Google research because there's things that I don't know. So now I've got to learn, and it's been a great experience for all of us, and just getting involved. And this was, I have to say, this was them, right? This was not me saying, I want you volunteering. This was all them saying, we want to do stuff for the community.
That's awesome. And it's a great feeling too, I think, when you're able to, I know for certainly when we got my son home from Sick Kids, Liam, you know, and everything started to stabilize just a bit, you know, we continue to do a lot of advocacy work for the Ronald McDonald House here locally, my wife and I, and we help out Melissa Egan and Christine at Ronald McDonald House and McDonald's out as much as we can. But it's nice to see Liam sort of, because Liam's 3.5 going on 4 this January, so 3 3/4 or whatever. And he was going to be turning 4 in January, believe it or not. And it's nice to see him start to realize a little bit that, you know, we do go to this place called Sick Kids every, you know, fortunately now it's every year, and our last appointment was virtual because of COVID. But to see, like, yeah, this is a place where he can kind of get behind. So, you know, we've done, shameless plug, we've done mugs with his little symbol, you know, and we've sold those. You know, we're selling mugs with the show logo, with proceeds going to, you know, Ronald McDonald House and the Humane Society as well. So it's nice to see that and build that sort of community into children, especially when your kids are like, hey, you know what, Mom, let's just try it. And you're like, oh, okay, might as well, you know. Try it out and see how it goes. But
exactly, and it's great, and maybe I'll get some of those mugs.
I'll hook you up. That's not a problem. I will. Awesome. I'll hook you up after the fact. They're actually the Liam's Pride ones are not bad.
Okay, cool.
We like them. The Arms Bumanlag one, I don't have one here, the project mugs, but we've had a couple of orders go out in the last couple of months, so it's been fun. So, and it's a way too. It's like, I think for us, it's like, you know, we can't do tons of extra for you know, charities. You know, we want to be very cognizant of what we can do to help out where we can. So it's like, okay, well, if this makes sense, then let's try to do it and make it make sense too, and, you know, get some, as the kids would say, merch out there. To date myself, right?
It's okay. Like, we're all date ourselves at some point. It's all good.
I know, right? Well, my sister's 23. She's like, do you have a merch store? I'm like, what? Do I need one? She goes, no, if you're going to do a podcast, you need a merch store. I'm like, how about I actually do some episodes first and then we'll talk, okay? Then let's be consistent, right?
We'll get in the merge. And even with volunteering, it's like, you want to do so much, but you can only do so much, right? Yeah, you want to do a lot, but you can only do what you can do. And just reminding them too along the process is that, like, well, the smile cookies come out, and, you know, are we going to get our smile cookie? Who the proceeds go to? They need to know who it's going to this year. So I told them who it's going to this year, you know. And then the Ronald McDonald House, they have the McHappy Days. Okay, and we don't just get the Happy Meal. We got to get a couple items along the way as well, right? So, you know, it's looking at what can you do within what you have, right?
And it's funny, like, you know, you have those built-in days, and I think COVID over the last couple of years has changed those built-in days. Like, I remember every first week of June, we would do Tim Hortons Camp Day, and I'd be live at some Tim Hortons somewhere in the city, and then we do McHappy Day, and I'd do a show live from McHappy Day, or I'd do the 6 o'clock weather at McDonald's or something, right? And you have those things built in, and then, you know, they become so well known that it sells itself. So people, you know, and then in this age of social media where people may not necessarily tune in the radio or tune in TV as much as they used to, you know, people kind of promote and do their own kind of branding journalism online to say, you know, we got Liam smile cookies too, right? And he was like, well, what is this magnificent cookie you're giving me, Dad? And I'm like, it's from Tim Hortons. Oh, he's like, Timbit Place. I'm like, yeah, the Timbit Place. And it's for a great cause. And he's like, but it's got a face on. I'm like, go ahead and eat it. You're good. But it's like, it's just funny that people can kind of, have that sort of social impact through social media networks. And certainly with, what you guys did with the International Women's Day 2022. I mean, once the photos got sent out, I know I pumped it on my social and I said, hey, proud to be a support of it. So it's sort of like throwing that rock in the pond where you have that ripple effect where you're able to impact a lot of people through their own particular networks.
And it's great. And you don't know what impact you're going to have, even on one person. So it's not about 6,000 people, coming back and liking something. It's even just be one person that you actually touched and they're like, you made this connection with this person and made a difference in their lives. So it's pretty cool to be able to do this stuff.
Lynn says, Stephanie, thank you for your great work. Joan
welcome.
says here, Stephanie, hey, pleased to know that you are a trailblazer, just like your amazing parents. Happy to work with you at West. That's awesome.
Trying.
It's nice, right? It's nice to have that support. And,
exactly. You do it because you love doing it. You love your work. You love the people that you're with and around. And, you have to find that passion for yourself as well. And like you said, it's about filling that cup and making yourself happy and doing what you enjoy doing. You got to find your zone.
If you're just joining the show, watching this after the fact, or listening to us on Spotify, search the Arms Bumanlag Project. We are 29 episodes in, believe it or not, for the show. Very happy to finally connect with my good friend Stephanie Lyanga. She's doing incredible work at West. The website is listed on our live feed or the video after the fact, westofwindsor.com. Check it out for all the programs and services that they offer and the fundraising that they do as well. Stephanie is a mom. She is a community advocate, and she is somebody who has I want to dive into this a little bit more, but the whole work from home with kids. And we were talking about this before the show. God bless your kids, right? I mean, God bless my son. How have you been managing with the work from home when you got the little munchkins running around and doing stuff?
Should I take a drink of my juice first? No.
my mommy daddy juice. Right?
You're like, okay, I'm gonna drink this, and it's you can't prepare. Nobody, I don't think any of us could have prepared for what was going to happen. It was like, it's lockdown. Your kids are now doing school from home. You're working from home. Every activity your child does is now online. It's in your house. You're like, what is going on? But, you roll with it. The thing is, I can honestly say is that you do your best as a parent not to have how you're feeling impact your kids. Right. And with that, I worked really hard, to keep the smiles going, to keep the joy going in the house so that they weren't feeling the stress. And there's a point when we all COVID and they were telling you how many cases and how many people were dying and, the provinces and they were listing it. And then I just said, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to have it in the house. I'm not going to have these conversations about COVID anymore because you don't know what they're going through and they're still learning how to express and they're confused and they're not understanding. They can't see their friends. So it was a lot, it was a lot to take in, but I would just go through the day. I literally was just like, okay, you've got school. Let's get your desk set up. What do you need? If there's a tech problem, I'm like, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm in a meeting. Then I have to call the principal and be like, I'm sorry. I was in a meeting for an hour. There's a tech problem here. We've got to fix it. I'm going to get it fixed. Okay. Back to another meeting. And the kids ate, I don't know about anyone else's children, but my 8 children ate so much food. I was not prepared for. Literally my son was always in the fridge and my daughter would be like, can I have popcorn for a snack? And she sat there with a giant bowl of popcorn.
Just eating on some calls.
Eating it while she's got class going on. She's like, eating my popcorn, and you just go, you do what you've got to do. Right. And then by the end of the day, you're mentally exhausted. You're just tired and you're just like, I don't know how I did that. And you sleep and you're like, I got to get up and do it the next day. But, I found fun things to do with my kids. So they're big fans of baking. So we watch what is it? A Duff and Buddy, the big challenge.
Oh, yeah.
So we watched those and the kids baking and, they would bake they'd have their competition days that they would bake. And then
awesome.
After my stomach was, not adjusting well to the new competition imagination food as I was flourishing them, I was like, now we're going to learn how to read a recipe.
So awesome.
Yeah. So we take the recipe, they learn how to read the recipe, the measurements. There was some frustration along the way, but they'd make their dishes and everything and just finding fun things to do, like board games, and taking up different sort of activities. And we now do like old school Sunday, which sometimes I'll post on my Facebook page, different songs that we'll do. And everybody had to like get ready for bed. And then we blast like, Can't Touch This or Pump Up the Jam, and we dance it out. And then everybody goes to bed, and that's just how it works. So you just adjust and you find things like, how do I make my house fun? Right? Things that we never really thought about doing before. And now it becomes traditions and things that you continue to do. But it was a lot. Like, and props to the teachers. Like, I have to honestly say, you would hear,
oh my God,
you would hear like so many kids, and it's like, how do you focus, and how are you doing this? And like, I told the teachers, said props to you, because it's a lot on both ends. Like, for everybody, it was just a lot. Nobody was prepared for it. It was like a sci-fi movie that we could never knew was going to happen.
But we're like, like I totally agree with you. And the more that I started working primarily from home in April, when I started at the Humane Society, and I'm on site at the shelter probably once, maybe twice a week. When it's safe to do so, I'm out meeting donors, and I'm meeting partners, and kind of making those connections, or doing it virtually like this too. But when I'm here, like, first of all, God, I'm going to say this right on the show. God bless my mom and my dad, and my wife's mom and dad, and stepmom and stepdad. Between them, we have like a built-in babysitting network that have like really stepped up. And I will say this right on the show live, like, God bless all of our grandparents, because they really helped out my wife and I. Because my wife, I don't know if a lot of folks know, she's a pharmacy technician. So we're in Amherstburg, and she's lucky enough to have a really great boss to work for her, and great pharmacy she works at. But she's part-time. But I've got a couple of irons in the fire, as I usually do. And then I'm on calls, making calls, doing design work, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, God bless my son, but he'll like all of a sudden pop up. You'll see like a head. Right. And then he'll look around, and all of a sudden he'll go over here. I'm going to expand my camera here in my man cave here. He'll go into like one of my collections. I've tried to make this. He'll grab like my mic flags from CBC and be like, I'm Arms Bumanlag, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
Really? And then like, he'll grab like my He-Man collection, or some of my Batman guys here. And it's like, I know. And like, I actually, like, it's funny. Like, it looks like this is like, I always say this is a finished office. This is actually just a photo backdrop. And then this is all unfinished basement. So I've got like Little Tyke's car right over here. There's a bunch of Legos on the ground over there. And it's like, he'll just be watching me. Yeah. And it's like, I'll get off a call. I'm like, okay, let's go change your diaper. Let's go make you a snack. Let's put on Cocomelon on YouTube. God bless that.
Yeah.
Cocomelon, and away he goes, right? When they can't babysit. But it's a challenge, but I will say this, it is taxing. At the end of the day, you're like, okay, like, you put your kids to bed, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, here we go. But I think you and I are liking the same. Like, I'm a bit of a type A, where it's like, I will hop on my computer. Like, I'll be watching TV in my man cave after, Liam's in bed and Carrie's watching her shows upstairs. And I'm like, I'm going to go work on, I got something to go. I'll start working on my project. Yeah. Right. And it's where I think, in my opinion, like, the 9 to 5 is like long done. Yeah. Right. It's like, I'll make hay when there's hay to be made, so to speak. Right. And get it done. So, but it's the lack of commute time is great. I mean, you can, for me, it's like just going in the backyard and firing up the barbecue when I'm off a Zoom call,
Exactly.
But it's also being accessible. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had donors or, partners call me at like 8 o'clock at night. And it's about that relationship thing, like you said, where it's like, people know, I'm going to call Arms. I got a question. Okay. And I'm on the phone with them for a half an hour, 45 minutes. Right. So.
Exactly. And there's certain people, you're like, yeah, call me whenever. If you need something, give me a call. Here's my cell. Call me. Not a problem. I'll talk to you. Because ideas too, they sometimes same way flow. Like, it could be like 2 o'clock in the morning and you have an idea. That's, like Each for Equal. I was watching actually the Avengers, and I was like, I have an idea. I figured it out. And I text my friend. I know she's sleeping, but I'm like, I have an idea. I figured it out. I know what we're going to do for the campaign, and it's late. And I know you were sleeping, but I just had to like get that excitement and that juice out, right? So 9 to 5. Sometimes you're like, what does that mean? What does that look like anymore?
And then I think it allows, some flexibility, right? I think some of the more progressive employers, and this is why I'm really excited to have Kyle from the U of W on next week too, is to kind of, because he's done actually scientific data-driven studies about some of the progressive companies and organizations that are allowing that flexibility when it's able to say, if there's a doctor's appointment, or if there's something that's like, as long as the work is getting done, then we're sort of accessible 24/7 nowadays because of these. It's like,
exactly.
You kind of have to have, your cake and eat it too. Some comments coming in here. This one's coming in from Joan saying, God bless the kids with work from home. uh, Help, definitely an experience that will stick with me. Having said that, I love my two youngest bundles of joy. Yeah, I just got Liam, and it's like, you got the two, right? And they're a little bit older. So it's like, holy, I mean, can you imagine people with like 3 kids, 4 kids?
A lot. Like
oh my God.
They are champs beyond champs, because it was so much to have to go through. Like, you love your kids, and your kids are the best, but there's also a time when you have to separate from your children. Like, everybody needs to separate. Everybody needs their own spaces, right? And it was hard at times to like get that opportunity. And you're like, I'm running a school, I'm running an office. It's a kitchen, a 24/7 kitchen. It's a training facility. Mom, I need the top floor. Like, 1 second, I'll put it down for you. And it's you got toys upstairs, you got toys downstairs. So it became definitely a lot. Yeah, for sure. And
Lucy from Banna joins us on the stream as well, and she says, I agree 100%, Stephanie. A lot of multitasking during virtual learning. I like what you said about you just keep going and try to keep the kids well adjusted. You are so creative, very admirable. Yeah, I think it takes okay, honestly, as a mom, this.
Yeah,
it takes energy, right? Like, I say to my wife all the time, like, I have an imaginary glass, and every day I have to fill it with a certain amount for work, certain amount for the family, try to squeeze in a little bit extracurricular if I can. But it's like, for you as a mom to have those dance parties at the end of the day, the jam out things, like, kudos to you, man. Like, holy cow.
You know what? They love it. They would even be like, can we do it today? And I'm like, but it's Tuesday. It's not old school Sunday. Like, but please. And I'm like, okay, fine. Let's, and I would just throw something on, like, you got TLC, you got Boys to Men, and we're like, we're learning how to do the Running Man and all.
So good.
Sort of the fun stuff, and it's a good time. And we started it. My son was kind of like looking at me, and I was like, crisscross came out. I'm like, crisscross, make it jump, and he's like trying not you know what I'm talking about, because you hear it and you're like, oh, I gotta go, right? And he's just like, I'm not gonna participate. I'm not. And I was like, you're cracking. I'm gonna crack you.
I'm gonna crack you, and then you're gonna get into it.
And because he's got the smile, and I'm like, gotcha, we're done. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, kudos to you for the TLC, because I mean, TLC was like it. I tell you, right? Like, I still have their CDs. Like, that's choice.
It is choice. My daughter does not like their outfits. Just saying, but we discussed the 90s, the 80s, 90s outfits do not work for her.
It's a little different, right? It was a different time. Annabella goes on to say, we were just talking about it today, how kids pop into cameras during meetings, and you try to explain I'm in a meeting, and then they say, but Mom, I'm whispering. That's like people with animals too, though, right? It's like, at this point when you're doing the work from home, and like, I was at the Hiatus House AGM last Thursday with my friends at Royal LePage, and Maggie DeRoche from the Windsor Parade Corporation is their fundraising coordinator at Hiatus House, and I've worked with Maggie for a number of years, so she invited us out, and it was interesting to see that dichotomy of the people who were in attendance and going through the whole vaccination checking and all that kind of stuff. And then as they did their AGM on the screen, they actually had some folks that weren't there for whatever reason, whether it was time constraints, or maybe they just didn't feel safe, or maybe they weren't vaxxed. And they're on the screen. But it was just really neat to see how that all kind of worked out. And I think it went rather flawlessly. I mean, we were sitting at tables that were all social distanced, and it was interesting to see. But I mean, that virtual world, I think it's here to stay. And it's going to continue to be a part of people's work days. So
exactly. I don't think we have to apologize for our dogs or our cats or our kids anymore. In the beginning, we all felt really bad, and you got a dog that's going to bark, your doorbell's going to ring. It's going to happen. Like, it's part of our lives now, and it's like, it's okay. Don't worry about it anymore. Just say, 1 second, I got to take care of my dog. 1 second, the cat's sitting beside you. Just let me move the cat. It's okay.
You just go with it.
We got to go with the flow and not worry about, feeling bad or having to feel that we need to apologize for stuff all the time.
That's right. And it's funny too. It's like, a couple of people have said about this show, and it's like, well, why do you do it at 8 o'clock? I said, well, honestly, my son's in bed at that point. So it's like, I can actually I make a nice coffee or tea. I sit down in my little man cave office, and then my wife usually watches upstairs, and I don't have to worry about him popping in. Even if he pops in, it wouldn't be an issue anyways. But It's just c'est la vie, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of the way of the world. A
No, I
couple more
appreciate
comments.
that because my
What I think
mom's
it's huge.
upstairs with my kids. My mom's upstairs with
Oh, God bless your mom,
yeah,
man.
exactly.
She's like,
Thank
I
you.
got to do
Thank
this
you,
thing with
Bibi.
arms. Yeah, I got to do this thing with arms and just watch
Yeah.
them. So
Can you watch them and get them settled for bed? So I totally agree
yeah.
with you. Yes, go ahead. Sorry, your comments.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Our good friend Michelle from Workforce Windsor Essex. I love
Yay,
Michelle.
Michelle. Hey.
She's awesome.
Yeah,
She goes, you know
she
what?
is amazing. Amazing woman.
She goes, thanks, Arms, for featuring Stephanie on the show. So many, as I've already said, she's an incredible role model for her kids, her peers, and those fortunate enough to witness her evolve in her career and parent. Also makes incredible cookies. Oh, my God.
I do. Thanks, Michelle. Yes. I think one day I'll get you some, Arms. I'll make a delivery.
Okay.
I'll let you, we'll have a discussion about your, deal with allergies, if any, and all that sort of fun stuff that I take care of before I make cookies.
I love it. I love it. I'm pretty loose when it comes to any kind of cookies.
Right.
Let me tell you, that's my COVID weight I put on. Let me tell you, I'm not adverse. I mean, I'm just proud of myself when I get like the Pillsbury Doughboy cookies and I put them in there. Oh, we got to talk about this before we get into a couple more topics on the show. Annabella says, you're speaking my language here. Let's not talk about Halloween costumes. Not only lemonade stands, but she also makes her kids costumes every year.
People are divulging like all my secrets.
No, and I listen, I had this conversation tonight with my wife, Carrie.
Yes.
Every year since we moved out here in Amherstburg for 3 years and running, and we got Liam home from Sick Kids, I always said to him, we'd have it, I'm going to say it again, kick-ass Halloween display. We will be one of the houses on the block where the kids are like, that's like Clark Griswold with Christmas. Right? I mean, with Halloween, I'm down.
Yeah.
And every year I add on to the display, much to the chagrin of my wife. And I did not know that you make, I've always respected you, but I have a new respect for you that you make your Halloween costumes for the kids. You got to tell me about that.
Well, it just kind of slowly evolved as time passed on. And I think it was like, oh, I'll just make a cape, or, I'll just like one year my daughter was like the hip hop fairy. So I made like a little like hat, to go on with like the fairy outfit. And then it happened a couple years back. My son wanted to be Mario because he was really into Mario. I know your son Liam's into Mario right now.
Oh yeah. Huge.
Yes. Oh, yes. We have a Mario track downstairs here. I'm sitting right near it.
Same with us. Yep. Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels. I got some Hot Wheels cars. The Hot Wheels
right
track.
over here.
Yes.
Yep.
Same. We can have a challenge one time about Super Mario Brothers race. So he wanted to be with Super Mario Brothers, the raccoon, and Halloween. It gets expensive. Like when you really look at it, it does get expensive. I was like, I can just save some money. I can make the costume. So I was fitting him for the whole raccoon, and he looked at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "You said you wanted to be Mario the raccoon." And he's like, I'm like, "Oh no, this is gonna go wrong." And he's like, "No." I said, "But do you want to be Mario?" He's like, "Yes." And I'd already bought all the fabric, and my daughter was gonna be Luigi. So I was like, "Forget it. I'm just gonna tough this out." And I made the overalls, and I made her the skirt jumper, and then last year she wanted to be I don't remember the name. It was an owl from Animal Crossing. It has these like giant wings. This it has.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I know Liam doesn't play Animal Crossing, but I have friends who play it who talk about it. And I'm like, and we have it upstairs on our Switch, but I've never gotten into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So she wanted to be the owl. So I was like, I got to make this from scratch. And I was like, how do you make owl wings? And I'm like looking up, trying to like patterns, and they're like not the best I'm not a good pattern maker, and everything is like Googling, and I'm like making wings and measuring my children. And then my son's like, oh, I want to be a race car driver, but he really likes penguins. I want to be a race car driver who's inspired by penguins. What is that? Right. So
that's awesome.
So then I had to like go and get the stuff, and penguins are orange and white and black. And so I had to like, put this whole thing together. And and then this year I was so excited, Arms. I was like, they picked their costumes, and I was like, I can buy these. And then he looked, he's like, aren't you going to make them? I like homemade costumes. And I was like, all right, fine. So
I can do it for you. I will do it for you.
Yeah. So I am once again heading off to Fabricland next couple days, and gonna make some more costumes.
I'll be the first to say on the show, like, you're a kick-ass mom. I mean, that's awesome that you're doing that, because you know what,
Thanks.
like, you could buy it in a bag. Like, I would like to get to a point where I could like cosplay with Liam as he gets older, if he's interested in that. Like, God willing, go to a comic book convention when it's safe to do so. But it's like, I know that I'm nowhere near that level, like not even close. Like, I'll spring for the costume, whatever. And maybe in a couple of years we can use it again, or I don't know, figure something out. But no, God bless you for doing that. I mean, that, because, honestly, I say that to people. Like, I know some people are like, oh yeah, Halloween, it's one day and they're getting candy that you can just buy the candy. But it's like, it's the memories you're making
Yeah.
with your kids. So like, no matter what happens in your life through the good and the bad, like you are imprinting that memory, hopefully for yourself to take
Yeah.
it with you till the end. And then for your kids for the rest of their life, they'll always remember, hey, my mom went the extra mile to make me some kick-ass costumes for Halloween.
Yes, I hope so.
They better. That's what I'm saying. You say, my mom's friend Arms. He said, you better.
You better appreciate this. It is work, and honestly, I wouldn't do it if I didn't love doing it and doing it for them. I know just at the end when you see their faces and the joy that they have for the holidays, and I do go an extra mile. I will say that, and everybody's different, right? And
Sure.
You do what you can do, and I totally get that. And it can be exhausting, and I'm not gonna say it's not gonna be exhausting, but I do it. I enjoy doing it, and I'll put myself through it, and I'll be up till 2:00 in the morning sewing.
Oh, God bless you. I mean, that's the same thing too. Like Carrie always teases me, like every night when Liam goes to bed and she's watching her shows, and I'll do some work here in the office, and then all of a sudden I'll putz around outside, and she goes, "What are you doing?" And it's like even before we started the show, she's like, "Why are you putting on the inflatables?" Like, I'll send you a picture when this is all said and done,
yeah.
or a video of our display. But it's like the neighborhood kids, because we have an area where there's tons of kids. Like now the kids the word's out that we've got the Halloween stuff up, and it's a Disney theme. It's all Disney, right? So it's kind of like Nightmare Before Christmas meets
cool.
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
And tonight when we were getting ready to put Liam to bed, there's a little girl and her mom sitting like on our lawn watching the characters come to life. And I turned it on. I was like, made me feel. And Liam's like, "Who's that? Who's on our lawn? Who's that, Dad? What are they doing?" I'm like, Liam, I think they're coming to see your display, bud." And then he's like, "Really? Well, I'm going to go say hi." "No, you don't get to say hi. You can just wave from the window, bud, and go to bed, So it's like, you're right. It's the things we do. I think it's a piece of joy for us as parents, but it's also, hopefully, when they have kids of their own, they can say, my dad and mom used to do X, Y, and Z, right?
Exactly. So, and you're going to be the house that people want to go see, and you're going to have kids are going to be like, "Can we go? Can we please?" Like, I know if we were in your neighborhood, my kids would be like, "Can we go? Can we go see the house?" And Arms' house would be like, "All right, let's drive by. Let's go see the house."
I know it's funny. Like, I'll have full-on conversations with people too, and they'll be like, introduce myself, and I'll go out and I'll talk to some of the dads. He's like, "Hey, yeah, your hydro bill must be through there." I'm like, "Dude, it's fine. It's all LED lights. Like, don't worry about it, right?" Because it's lit up. Like, I will tell you, it is like lit up like Las Vegas out there.
Cool.
But it's just a blessing, right? It's the joys of being a parent and trying to provide a bit of that experience. And everybody's different, right? Some people do the sports thing, some people do the Halloween thing, some people do Christmas, whatever. But one of the things as a parent, before we wrap up the show, and I'm going to put you on the spot. I got to have you back on the show. You're like, all my guests were epic, but you're like next level, right? Well, so I'd love to have you back on.
Call me, and I'll be here. No problem. Thanks.
Just to shoot the breeze about whatever, right? Yeah. But I wanted to talk to you about this because I think this is something you and I have talked about since we've known each other. As a parent in 2021, looking at the climate that we're in the world today, teaching your kids about diversity and inclusion and obviously not from a negative standpoint, because God knows that there's enough of that finger pointing and sort of that hate-based information and opinion that's out there. Let's talk about that and what that means to you, what you're teaching your kids, and where you think we could be doing a little bit better with that positive lens. We kind of touched base on that a bit about having those proper representation at all levels of whatever organization you're in. But what are you teaching your kids when it comes to that topic?
I think you worry about how to address the topic, and I think that's the one thing we have to not really think about is how do we address the topic, right? How do we talk about racism or discrimination or inclusivity or diversity or people with disabilities? Like, how do we have these conversations with our children about people with their sexual orientation? Like, how do you have these conversations with them? You just have a conversation, and I try to make it where if they ask me a question, I'll answer the question to my best ability. But when we had different issues coming up during COVID, where it was looking at Black Lives Matter, different situations. And I said, we got to talk about it. And, we sat down and we talked about the color of your skin. We talked about, how there's people that are going to judge you based on just what you look like. They don't care if you have a good heart. They don't care, what type of person you are. They don't, that's not a concern to them, and even having those conversations about, when you're with your friends, who are of different races, that, they may be treated differently than you because just of what you look like. And also in regards to, we talk about the importance of justice, the importance, that not life is not fair, and just having those general conversations. Watch the Paralympics with them for a little bit, and she would ask, my Crosby, who's very inquisitive, would ask questions about, what does she have, and and I didn't know who they were, who the athletes were, and I'd have to Google them, and we'd look up what their disability was, and we'd have a conversation about what it said, and and you just, I think it's important. I say to them, whatever you want to talk about, let's talk about, and we talk about, there's men who marry men and women who marry women. And I said, yeah, that's right. And so there's things that they know that I haven't even told them. And it's just, they just know these things. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. That's just how it is. And I'm just very open, and I try to have those open conversations with them. And I know even like, this isn't diversity inclusivity, but I know as the cannabis stores are coming up, it's a topic for another, but my daughter was like, what does we stand for? Right. So I had to say, this is weed. And I explained a little bit about what, and she was like, okay. And that was it. Right. So I think sometimes as we become parents and, we have little kids, we worry about, are we going to say the right thing? Is it too early? And sometimes they're just going to let us know that they just want to know. And they don't even want to know too much. Right. They just want to know a little bit. And then that'll suffice for the time being. And then you keep having those conversations. We talked about people being different, about different religions. And I know the first time my daughter heard somebody speak a different language, she was, she's like, are they from Earth? Because she was like 4. And I said, yes, they are. I said, there are people in this world who speak different languages. And you're going to learn about that as you get older. Okay. And that's really all you can do. I know we worry, and I have moments I'm like, did I say the right thing? Because I don't know if I said the right thing. Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know, and I think everything you said is spot on. I think it scares me as a dad. And this is, again, we'll say this the next time you come on the show. Okay. but you talk about the cannabis thing, okay? But then so I have some opinions on that too, and very much aligned with yours too. But I look at the whole climate crisis, and it is very much like when I was at the CBC. One of our mandates in the newsroom was, when you look at climate deniers or folks that weren't saying that there was an issue, it's like, no, it is fact. Climate change is fact. And we will report that according as fact. I look at, my son's going to be 4 on January 26th. And I look at the last 10 years, like 2010 to 2020, and how much the world has changed in that time frame.
Yeah.
And I look at what's ahead in the future, not to say this is going to be doom and gloom, but I worry. I honestly, like my wife says, like, I'm paranoid. But I worry about the sustainability of the world, and I worry about where we're going as a society in regards to. Listen, I make no, and I've said it a couple of times before, not so much on the show, but I've talked about this in different. I don't want to say they're TED Talks, but different things in the community and things that I've done over my career too. That I'm part Filipino, part French Canadian, and things are different for folks of color, and sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's harder to get a voice at the table. Sometimes it's hard to have those barriers be broken, so you can even have that equal say in whatever you're doing. And I say that often to my wife, that our son is half Filipino and half, my wife is Polish. So we look at that lens. Fortunately, I think there's been a lot of legway in terms of acceptance, and I think the next generation is going to be a little bit more, or hopefully a lot more, inclusive of everyone. But it's good that you have that open dialogue, right? Open conversation with your kids is so important, and then teaching them compassion for love of God, right? It's like just worry about your neighbors and be kind at all times. Be kind.
It sounds so cliche, but it's just about kindness. There's so many simple little things we can do. And, speaking of race, like my kid's dad, he's half Hungarian and half Scottish, right? So there's 2 different also lenses again. You're looking at a white lens and looking at the black lens, right? So it's combining those and having those conversations about why things happen. But yeah, it's just the cliche, just be kind. It's really so simple that we don't need to do an entire thesis about kindness. It's just open the door, say hello. Somebody needs help, help them, you know, as opposed to watching somebody struggle. You know, if somebody, you don't understand them, don't yell and say, what, you know, just say, I'm sorry. Can you repeat? Right. What I don't understand. So we just tend to forget that. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in the rush of everything, and, you know, that this is what I need, that we forget. It's such a simple thing to do.
Yeah, and I think it's just like our opportunity to, as adults and parents, to teach kids that, you know, some of the vitriol that's out there and some of the anger that's sort of lying underneath the surface, it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're very much, and everybody's life experiences are very different and vastly different. And
Yep.
you know, I still maintain that, you know, we collectively win when we support each other. I mean, one of the first things I did in this office was put this, you know, we rise by lifting each other's up, be kind, quote behind me. So it's like, no matter how miserable I might feel, or tired or upset or mad, it's like you said, it's just a question of being kind. And, you know, when you were saying earlier on the show, Stephanie, about looking at all the data that was coming out constantly about COVID and all the negativity, and I'm not saying not be aware of that. It's very crucial that people know, in my opinion, the numbers. But at some point, from a marketing standpoint, again, another hill I'm going to die on, from a marketing standpoint, people will hear those numbers and hear people continue to say, you need to do this, you need to do that, these are the numbers, and they'll tune out. And it's like, I've always said it, if you scale it back down to that ground floor mentality, it's like, what are the positive stories? What is the sell? What is the why? So if the numbers are going up, or, you know, the hate crimes are on the rise, like, let's look at why that is. Let's look at some of the education pieces that we can put out there, and let's try to get people to come together. I find, especially too, and now we're going into left field, but I got to say it, but
that's okay. It's all good. We'll go anywhere.
We'll go anywhere. It's like, I find that sometimes politicians and politics, everybody is so ingrained in what they believe. And it's very much in social media. It's like, this is my funnel of information, and I don't want to see any kind of viewpoint, but like, very rarely you're going to see people reach across the aisle, so to speak, right? And shake hands and say, okay, I may not believe in what you do, but let's find an equitable solution for both of us to make this work. And I think that is in so short supply in 2021. And I just don't know, you know, how do we get back to that?
We got to open our minds, you know, and be okay to have these conversations with people who disagree with us, and just be open to anything that's possible. And I think sometimes the fear of what could be, or the fear of, you know, I'm not here to change your mind, you know, I just want to have a conversation, you know, and I'm not going to sit here and say, no, I'm here and we're going to change your mind, and I'm going to convince you that the climate is changing. It's like, no, let's just hear each other's perspectives and hear each other's sides, and let's see, can we come to a common agreement? Is there somewhere we can move forward on this? Right. It's just one of those things. And going back to your story thing, it reminded me of a man, you know, remember Miranda Marshall, the singer? And she had that song. Yeah. Everybody had a story. I think there's a song she has, something about everybody has a story or something. And it just reminded me of that.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just think if we're constantly berated by negative, I mean, it's like the guy who smokes a pack of cigarettes, like, for every day in his life, and then goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, you're not doing good. Like, and he's shocked. It's like, you can't primarily absorb all of that. And, you know, they used to say, when it bleeds, it leads, and it'll sell papers and it'll get ratings. And it's like, yeah, okay. But there's something to be said about finding those community stories and talking about, hey, here's an issue. Instead of putting the sensationalism behind it, here's what was happened. Let's try to find an equitable solution, so we can kind of educate folks in the same way to say, here's how we move forward. Call me an idealist, but I don't know.
No, I don't think you're idealist. We don't need to be scared. I don't want to live in fear. I don't want my children to live in fear. I don't want anybody else's children to live in fear. Right? We understand that there's bad things that happen, and we need to report on those bad things. But I don't want to watch something bad happen, completely scroll through the entire day. You know, it's one of those things that, like, let's find good. Why not? Why not do a little bit?
Well, I'll tell you what was good was having you on the show.
It's been fun, Arms. Thanks.
It's a good time. And I'm telling you, Jose Canseco guest right out of the park. You knocked it right out of the park. And I just so blessed to call you a friend. I'm so in awe of what you do. And I want to say thank you for always supporting my wife and I and Liam. You've been a pleasure to work with.
I could, like, you know, that good old saying, those women were like, I could, like, eat him up when he smiles. Like, he has the most contagious, like, when I see him smile, I just want to smile. Like, he is adorable.
Thank you.
And you guys are doing an awesome job.
Thank
You
you.
Carrie are doing a lovely job with that little dude. He's amazing.
Thank you. It's been a roller coaster few years, and I think anybody who knows my family knows that. But we're very blessed, and I love the city. I love the people in it, and
Yeah.
I love connecting with folks like yourself. And
Thanks.
I think if we band together, we can really start to change that conversation. So I'm not joking. Like, I'm going to look
What?
ahead at in the next couple of months. I'm going to look back, and then I'm going to say what date works for you, and let's do it again.
I will be here. I will bring my maybe I'll have one of your mugs instead of my peanuts mug instead.
I'm going to hook you up. I promise you, I'm going to hook you up when everything's said and done. Listen, I got my golf tournament this Friday for the Humane Society. I got rained out last Friday, so I'm like scrambling to get that done. And it's like, oh my god! So once that's to bed, October, I'll see if I can hook up with you in the next little bit. And
no problem. I cannot golf because my golf clubs are sitting in a garage filled with dust.
I'm just going to drink and maybe hit a couple balls, but that's okay. It's good. It's for a good cause. But no, seriously, thanks for making some time with me tonight. Give my best to the kids. Rose, everybody at West, thanks for being awesome, Stephanie. Okay.
Anytime. All right. Take it easy.
Thank you. Stephanie Lyanga, what an awesome lady joining us on the show, and just a great mom. And you can tell by the way she loves her kids, how passionate she is about everything that has to do with West. Just, when you vibe with people, and good things happen, that's what you get with Steph. She really does care about the community, and she's just an awesome mom and a great individual as well. So to everybody commenting in the feed tonight, thank you so much for your kind words. We appreciate everybody spending some time with us as well. Jen says, hey, Powerful Arms Bumanlag on continuing to put on the good things out there too. Yeah, this is what the show is about. And, we do the interviews, we kind of shoot the breeze, we talk about what's happening in the city. And as we get into kind of the rotation and you get to see who's on the show, and when I start to bring guests back on the show who've been on the show previously, then we can kind of get into different topics and stuff like Steph and I started to do at the tail end there. So some really great insight with Stephanie Lyanga. So check out their website too, westofwindsor.com. They've got great programming that continues through the pandemic as well to help folks here in the Windsor Essex area locally. So check it out for yourself. A couple of things to talk about too. This show, we have a lot of fun doing it. We are, as of next week, 30 episodes in. And a lot of folks are saying, hey, we want to be a part of the show. How do we get involved in the show? How can organizations get involved? Well, it's easy. You can connect with Windsor Essex. You can reach over 3,500 people weekly. We do the show weekly. That is my commitment to you. You can get engaged by over 17,000 viewers monthly. That's our metrics on this show. You can sponsor this show, and it's real easy to do so. We have show sponsorships that are available. If you're interested in taking a look at that, whether you're a business or an organization, you can message me directly. I'd love to have a conversation with you about what sponsoring this show looks like, and then we can get you on board and help us continue to provide that good news in Windsor, Essex. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a great rest of the evening. The podcast will be up in just a few moments if you want to listen on Spotify. Don't forget, we're back next Thursday with Kyle Brickman, Associate Professor from the University of Windsor, on leadership in the workplace and working remotely and engaging employees. Lots of things to talk about when it comes to workplace morale and culture. And that's next week on episode 30 of the Arms Bumanlag Project. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Have a great night. And hey, Annabella, thank you for watching. Have a great night as well, and we will see you next week here on the project.